This one's wife. Failed. Worse than before. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Earlier, I reported to you the failure of this one's wife's shop my, and I explained why she'd failed at that, along with a quick trip down memory lane of her other failures. Well, lo and behold, today it's a double whammy of failure from this loser. The second failure relates to her awful television programme with Love Meghan, which aired last week, all episodes being available. Your glorious narrator, you'll recall, managed two. One, just to review it to see if it was any different from the first half of the season, and a further episode to see what the interaction was in relation to some narc-on-narc action between this one's wife and Chrissy Teigen. 2 episodes was more than enough, and it would appear that I'm not alone in such a view. For as Peter White at Deadline reports, With Love Meghan is nowhere to be seen on Netflix Top 10 chart. Wah, 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 wah. Yes, not really a surprise, is it, that people weren't flocking to watch a privileged nobody wanking about in a kitchen that wasn't her, not actually cooking anything, making crap jokes whilst pretending to be friends with people, many of whom were only there because they had been paid, apart from the crying makeup man who is desperately clinging to the coattails of this one's wife whilst lashing out at anybody that criticises her. The second season of the cooking show, and that's using the description in its most elastic sense, from this one's wife, failed to crack the streamer's weekly ratings after its launch on August 26th. But how did it fare in relation to the first season? Well, the first season, or part 1 of season 1, squeaked into the top 10 with 2.6 million views in its first week, placing it at number 10 back in March. Unsurprisingly, part 1, or the first half of season 1, failed to have any long-tail appeal. In Netflix semi-annual data dump, which is what they ought to have done with this show, the What We Watched report showed that between January and June 2025, With Love Meghan ranked 383rd with 5.3 million views. Smash show, it was not. That is low for a Netflix original, with 4 seasons of Suits ranking higher than it, despite having been off the air for 6 years. The second season, or part 2, also failed to make the Luminat's top 50 streaming charts for the period between August 22nd and 28th, which covers US viewing, meaning that fewer than 1.11 million people watched the show in its first 2 days on the streamer. This does not come as a surprise. Most people are not interested in this one's wife. Even when she's reported on in many of the newspapers, much of the responses are along the lines of, "Why are you talking about this woman? Please stop reporting on her. We're not interested." Yes, there continue to be people that criticise her, but there is a noteworthy shift towards many people simply saying, "I've got no interest in this person. I don't want to know about her. Why are you reporting on her in what is meant to be a serious newspaper? She's a nobody. Please stop it. We have had enough of her." This is indicative of the death knell for this one's wife. You see, if she had decided that she was going to play up to her persona of not being liked and embraced it, and perhaps allowed people to see the tantrums behind the scenes, etc., she would get much better views, because there remains a body of individuals who know that she behaves that way and wants to see it, but it would also be more interesting and actually would have come across as more realistic than what she portrays at the current time, which doesn't fool anybody other than the dim-witted sugars. But she won't do that because her narcissism won't allow her to do that, because it would shatter the facade management that it has in place, that she is this kind, empathic, tradwife individual, a wonderful wife and a doting mother. Accordingly, what she ends up with is a completely anodyne outcome, which doesn't interest many people at all. And the problem is that even the people that were grudge watchers have lost interest. They're not moved to want to give her the views, and they know it's more of the same. They'll rely on people such as myself explaining a bit about the show and think, well, I'm not going to waste my time watching it. I'm not interested in it, and I'm not even interested in laughing at her by giving her a review. I'll wait on the reports from people such as HG. This is a huge problem for somebody like this one's wife, because as a narcissist, she relies upon engagement. Love me, hate me, never ignore me. Well, she's finding that people in ever-increasing numbers are ignoring her. The article explains that the ratings will be a disappointment for Netflix, which had hoped its overall deal with the former royal duo would have produced more successful output than it has. It then gives a walkthrough of what they had done in the past through their Archwell productions, and highlights the fact that this one's wife has been teasing some behind-the-scenes photos of production, including pictures of her children on set and a musical playlist. But that hasn't achieved anything. It hasn't caused her to have more people viewing. The fact is that the second half is worse than the first half, that it's got fewer views, didn't get anywhere near the top 10, and is already disappearing without trace. It has slumped down the ratings list on a day-by-day basis, now I think being somewhere in the region of about 130 a week or so on from when it was first launched. This is not good for this one's wife. It demonstrates that she is boring, that she's unpleasant, that she's unlikable, and she can't even rely on controversy to have people continue to watch her. She's failed again. Another failure to add to all of the others. She's failed at her cookery, come crafting, come hostess with the mostess, because despite her attempting to tell us over and over again that she is authentic, she isn't. She is unable to be authentic because she lacks the emotional empathy to behave in a genuine way, and her narcissism is not skilled enough to ensure that she portrays herself in a way which would convince people that she is legitimate and authentic, combined with the fact that there have been so many instances of poor behaviour that people don't even give her the benefit of the doubt any longer. As is always the case, when it comes to the lesser and mid-range narcissist, give them enough rope and they'll hang themselves. And it's certainly the case with this one's wife, for she is being done down as a consequence of people seeing what an unpleasant individual she is by virtue of her narcissism, and that they're just not interested in her any longer. The result? People not watching, sliding down the ratings, and another failure to add to all the other ones. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.